Something's Got to Give, the story of the Marilyn Monroe film that never got made. Wait a minute, sorry. Marilyn Monroe, Monroe's ill-fated final role has been endlessly mythologized in the years since she died, from a barbiturate overdose, at the age of 36. A scene in David, there isn't a huge amount else to pay homage to. Monroe hardly, the studio knew what they were getting into. The actor had a reputation for tardiness, and Billy Wilder, who directed Monroe in Some Like It Hot 3 years earlier, had to hide lines and props on the set for his star to surreptitiously read. When he had a rap, she hadn't been on a film set for over a year when she was cast in Something's Got to Give, a remake of the 1940 comedy My Favorite Wife. Her time off had been, but in hindsight, Monroe wasn't ready either physically or mentally to return to acting. She was to play she was just fearful of the camera, said Weinstein, who recalled Monroe throwing up before scenes. Early on, the studio and production team had little sympathy for their star. Yes, this is a sick, but watching Something's Got to Give's raw footage, which was uncovered 40 years after the film was scrapped, gives a very different impression on camera, and there were a few good days during the Now in Fame, but things went rapidly downhill. On May 19, in fact, it may not have been entirely Monroe's doing. At the same time, the studio was panicking. Tensions were high. It's not entirely clear why the studio decided to re-hire Monroe a few months later. Perhaps it's because, but in August, Marilyn Monroe was found dead. The actor. A few days before she died, Monroe had given an interview to a journalist from Life magazine, and the subsequent profile was published a few weeks later. It ended with the following.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.